All right, today is the ultimate test of loyalty. We're gonna run a quick stream. I'm gonna run a solo stream today, so we'll see who the true sickos are hanging out doing the main slate. This will be fun for me because I've never done it before. But the boys still celebrating with their families and whatnot. A little Thanksgiving hangover experience, I imagine. And but I wanted to keep the consistency. I wanted to keep it going. Yeah, I don't know what's up with the mic settings too. Thank you for pointing that out, Willis. Like I've been messing around with everything this morning, and the stuff's already off the rails. Um, there we go. Let me know if that's better. Is that better? There we go. Anyways, let's just jump right into the slate. I hope shout out right off the top. Sam Olson, friend of the stream, sicko in the baseball streets. He shipped one of the tournaments yesterday. I think it was the Little Gobble, something like that. But just nice to see Badge Brigade doing what the Badge Brigade does, right? Keep coming out, keep showing up, and we'll keep shipping those prizes. Let me jump over. You know what? The old solo stream might be a little bit harder than I intended here. Let's see. All right. Okay. I don't love talking about, my own teams and that sort of thing and being like crazy results oriented about it. But I do just want to bring up a couple things. I saved my exposure from yesterday just to bring up like how tough it is to actually win in these contests. Um, my exposure yesterday, I only ended up getting in 56 teams in the turkey. I was quite busy on the Tuesday and the Wednesday there, and I was planning on waking up really early on the Thursday morning and just cramming the shit out of it. And the contest had already locked, so I only ended up getting 56 teams in. I was pretty overweight Saquon, I guess, or pretty high on Saquon, which turned out to not be great. But if you just check out like where my mind was at, just in general with like these exposures, like granted it's pretty top heavy, but leaning into that Zeke, leaning into that Josh Allen when I could get it, being all over Amon-Ra and Schultz, like, and it still just didn't matter, right? It still didn't matter because I didn't build it out with naked Mac Jones, or I didn't build it out with my Josh Allen stacks had too much Gabe, or stuff of this magnitude, right? Like, and I had Isaiah McKenzie. I had quite a bit of Isaiah McKenzie, especially in the secondary contest, and it just didn't matter on these short slates. So I did preach pretty heavily that correlation is king on these small game slates, but it still sometimes does not matter. And I don't like to be results oriented. I know it's only one slate, but I don't love to be results oriented, but it's hard not to just acknowledge the fact that literally like correlation basically did not matter yesterday if you just hit those perfect one-off pieces. But I don't think that should affect our process going forward, right? I don't think we should feel bad that just because Gabe didn't get home, it was a bad play. It was bad process. We were all over the Isaiah McKenzie play. It just happened to come to fruition that he outscored both Diggs and Gabe Davis. But if we run this simulation of this slate 10,000 more times, Gabe gets home, 5,600 of them. He gets home 6,000 of those times, right? So I don't want to get too results oriented based on yesterday's slate, because I imagine yesterday's slate, outside of a couple isolated contests, did not go very well for the majority of badged up players. But I just wanted to share that. And then in that same vein, I had, I had another. This was from the previous contest, the Monday night times Thursday night contest. And George Kittle, high scoring tight end on the slate, smashed the shit out of it. Josh Allen, high scoring quarterback on the slate, smashed it. Needed Debo, needed Amon-Ra. James Conner was in the winning lineup, and it's still like, oh, it's sunk by the fact that I had way too much Gabe Davis because of the correlation patterns associated with it. So I bring this up not to be like, woe is me, oh, sorry, John didn't win. I bring it up just to suggest that, like, hey, we talked about all these best plays, we built around all these best plays, and we still didn't win because one distinct piece we were overweight on went poorly for us, right? So I just think going forward in general that maybe I should be building for more range of outcomes than necessarily harping on like every time Gabe falls to me, I stack Gabe. I don't know if there's merit in that thought process, but I'm just kind of throwing it out there. And as we sift through this, as we figure this all out together, like we'll get to the bottom of these answers as we keep compiling data. But I'm just thinking out loud with this sort of stuff. Let me jump over to, I actually want to dive into the results a little bit of yesterday, just in general. Take a look at the Dirty Bird, not the Dirty Bird, the turkey. I ended up with more Dirty Bird because of exactly what I was saying, that I was cramming. That Thursday morning was my cram session plan, and it didn't come to fruition because the turkey had already closed. So I ended up with pathetic 13 entries in the turkey, which is, by my standards, just awful. Yeah, unbadged player who drafted in their first draft ever took down this contest. Second time we've seen it this year that a player who had basically never played before shipped the contest. And I think that's good. I think that is great, both for the development of these contests, both for incentivizing recreational players to jump in. Holy shit, I can turn $5 into 20,000 and all I have to do is draft a team. Like, it's a logical team, right? I mean, outside of okay, maybe I'm being too nice when I say it's a logical team, but like just showing the fact that like if you slap the 6 perfect plays together, you're gonna win. So yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a ton to take away from the roster in general, but I do think there's a ton to take away from the sentiment that, like, hey, even if, we're not as sicko deep in the weeds, looking at all the ADP data, looking at all the projections, building out our own tools, that you could still win in these contests. And I think that's distinctly different than DFS, because I think in DFS, it's gone so far down the rabbit hole that like the base level barrier to entry in that contest is so steep. The learning curve has already gone so steep that you basically cannot win in those contests, right? Yeah. Hey, I checked the chat right there, over under. There you go. I'm following. I'm following. There's so many moving pieces here for a boomer like me to be figuring this out on the fly here. But I'll have some fun with it here. Yeah, I mean the I don't think there's a ton to take away from that lineup. I did want to bring up this one because we know FSU for Cole is a good player, always in these games, and I did like the logic associated with basically if we couldn't pinpoint who the New England's number 2 wide receiver was, I was pretty heavy on Nelson Aguilar. I was really heavy on Nelson Aguilar in the Dirty Bird contest. I basically thought that he was going to be that guy who, based on coming back off the injury, he instantly ran more routes than Devontae Parker, blah, 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 whatever. Who cares why I pinpointed that guy as my guy? But I do think it was very smart to, hey, what if Hunter Henry is their de facto WR2 just based on the way he'd been utilized the last 2 weeks? And then pairing him with Mac Jones in a double tight end build as a way to get different and as a run back off Jefferson. I thought this was a pretty sharp little like 3-man correlation that I don't think we gave enough credit to throughout the week, and then getting different in that build by making it 2 tight end. I'm more and more inclined to play 2 tight end rosters on the shorter slates, just because some of them will project higher than like WR 11 or 12 on a 3-gamer. I don't think that's necessarily true on a main slate, but I do think that's true in this regard. And not to pump my own tires or whatever, but I had the same logic with my highest. Right? Whoa, I got to scroll ways to find my highest scrolling lineup. That's embarrassing. Oh shit, I probably scrolled past it. Maybe it wasn't this contest. Whatever. I'm over it. I'm over it. Oh, it was probably in the cranberry. I ended up jamming in some cranberries yesterday, and I drafted all of these yesterday because I was just like, I don't know if I was chasing the morning, the fact that I didn't get to draft as many as I wanted in the morning, and I'd done so much research and prep that it felt like sacrilegious to not just dive in. Yeah, something similar, but in the opposite direction, where I did a Minnesota 3-man, and then the bring back is a double tight end plus Aguilar, and just kind of like, hey, let me see if I can hit this and consolidate around that one game, and then bet that the only piece you needed from the other game was Zeke. I don't know. I think there's some merit to it, but I think my biggest takeaway from yesterday, both with the exposures and being like, hey, I nailed so many parts of the exposures, and then being like, hey, it didn't fucking matter. My biggest takeaway is to further dive into what we've been talking about recently, where it's like just build for the lineup in which you are playing right now to be successful. And then that makes the most sense. And to do that in different ways time and time again. Like we talked up Isaiah McKenzie, and I probably should have had even more Isaiah McKenzie than I did, just in the line of thinking that he was a free 6th-round tag on with Josh Allen. And maybe I should have been splitting more exposures. And I don't think it's results oriented to say this just because McKenzie had like his best game of the season. He had a higher ADOT than he's had all year. He ran more routes out of the slot than he ran all year. I don't think it's results oriented just to say that to be that like we should have mixed him in at a higher frequency and kind of quit on Gabe in some regard. Not every single time he fell to you that you just auto clicked it, but that you got unique combinations in that range without it. Anyways, belaboring the point of yesterday's slate, just some takeaways that I was thinking through last night, and yeah, I don't know. Chip, when hoops is not going to be my jam today. When hoops is a 15-game slate or something, right? 13-game slate. I mean, I can only name 31 players now, something like that. I could barely field an entire draft on a 13-game slate. You know, this ain't it. Yo, shout out Steve, giving us getting on that Aguilar share. You love to see it. 15th place in the turkey. Love to see it. Congrats, man. Love badges helping badges. This has been a fun time. Oh, speaking of which, oh yeah, we got the shirt in the mail. Got a couple shirts in the mail. I dropped the promo code. I'm gonna drop it just for the loyal viewers and drop it in the Discord, but it is in the description of the video. I'm not gonna tweet it out. Absolute shocker, lock and key, break all the password models ever. The promo code for 15% off in the Pete Overzed store today is Badge Bros. Imagine that. Imagine. No way you could have guessed that one. Badge Bros for 15% off. Go get a little bit of that merch. Chad, don't you dare go buy anything. Chris, don't you dare go buy anything because I'm sending stuff your guys' way to thank you for all the effort that you guys put in on the sheets in which I'm just about to bring up. Yeah, so first things first. The Week 12 slate. It feels very stars and scrubs, not in terms of players, in terms of team totals. So when I'm running through this, there are some gross, in quotations, gross game environments. And then there are some very outlying team totals. So like the Dolphins 1 week season has 30.5 to 16.5 from the Texans side. We're looking at the Chiefs with a 28-7-5. We're looking at the Niners with a 26-16. The Eagles one's actually the Sunday nighter, so it doesn't factor into our slate there. But this Hawks Raiders game, my eyes instantly gravitate towards the two high totals on both sides. The late afternoon hammer there. Same thing with Cards Chargers. I think we're going to get Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray trending in the right direction there, and then some fantasy goodness in the morning here with some close spread, higher total games, both in the Bengals Titans, the Ravens Jags. Real nice get right spot for Baltimore. I think not entirely sold on it yet, but could be a nice little. We see them go back more pass heavy than they have been in recent memory, and take advantage of that Jag secondary. We shall see. And then Bucks Browns. Very interesting there because basically all the pieces of that game outside of Nick Chubb are free. I mean, Mike Evans goes every draft, but he's like a 4th or 5th round pick when earlier in the season he would have been a 1st or 2nd round pick, something of that magnitude. So, yeah, it's interesting. I think it's a game that I'm going to end up inadvertently targeting, and I know I've gone back to the well on the Brady doubles like so many times, but like that positive touchdown regression has to be coming. Like it has to be coming at the volume in which they've been passing, right? Yeah, GA bringing up. Hey, shout out GA GA 007 doing exactly what the Badge Bros do. We raid Hayden and Josh's contest over there, their listener league. We turn it into our listener league, and basically the entire front end of that board. I actually didn't get into that contest, so I can't pull it up. Apologies. But the whole entire front end of that 1 through 10, I think I saw Chip's name in there. I saw GA at the top. Beautiful stuff, gentlemen. Beautiful stuff. Okay, lost my train of thought for half a second there. Let me jump back into the ADP sheet. I think Baseball threw out a tweet recently just kind of outlining that the value in which we were getting early in the week, Jamar Chase, the further he trends toward playing, obviously his ADP's been rising. We drafted a bomb with Pete on Wednesday there, and I took him in the 3rd round. I've seen him go as high as the 1-2 turn as the 2nd pick, basically at pick 7 there. So the jig's up on Jamar Chase largely, but I do want to direct eyes to another potential name that fits the Jamar Chase mold, not quite as high profile, but I'm looking way down here. Is that pulled up on the screen? Oh, he's still too far off the screen for me to even pull it up. I'm thinking about Marquise Brown. He was designated to return last week. People were building showdown lineups on the Monday night with him as captain at his Stone Min 200 there. Yeah, so 300 in the captain or whatever. And I'm not 100% sure he comes back this week, but as like some back end 5-6 stacks that you can get that are readily available, why not just mix in a little Marquise Brown plus Kyler Murray in the 5th/6th round? Just a name to throw out there. I've seen other names that are available late, like premium talents that are in similar situations where we don't know if they're going to play or not, and we're going to get a swap. Lenny Fournette. I mean, you have a very interesting note on the Browns and Bucks matchup is basically you have the worst rush defense in all football, and you have the worst rushing efficient offense in all football going against one another. So we will see. We will see if it becomes the Rachaad White game. I've been mixing in some weight late throughout the week. I'm starting to think that Lenny realizes he'll lose his job if he does not play. And coming off the bye, and Pete talked about it on Wednesday with the weird ass shilling of the report from his agent that, hey, we normally don't get injury news this early in the week, blah blah blah. I think he's going to push the envelope to play, and if he does, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to just have a little Lenny exposure late. Granted, what he does well is catch the football and be utilized as a receiving back, and that's basically not the formula to beat the Browns. The Browns is in rushing efficiency, but they could find ways to still get home. I actually have not checked his. Yeah, he's in the same thing. He's basically in the exact same realm there where he opened at. He's actually trending in the opposite direction. He opened at 35.9, and now he's a flat 36. So some people will have some exposure to him, but I'm just throwing out some real deep names that I've been thinking of borderline guys that are going to play that could or could not break the slate late. Because, like, I would rather spend a 6th-round pick. Mike Williams, another one. I'd rather spend a 6th-round pick on Mike Williams right now than I would on Joshua Palmer. But the field is drafting Joshua Palmer. The field is drafting Joshua Palmer at a 34.2 ADP, and it's largely because he broke a slate last week, right? Like he smashed last week. We saw the 2 tutties. He was the piece you had to have on that slate. I don't know. Mike Will probably not going to play this week, but then I just get a swap. Yeah, same thing at the tight end position. We were talking about how Arizona is a tight end funnel, and Arizona, just the tight end versus Arizona is the second highest. Random tight end versus Arizona is the second highest scoring tight end in all of fantasy, and that would be Gerald Everett this week. I guess it might be Trey McKitty if Everett is unable to go. He is questionable right now as well. But as a 6th-round pick, as tight end 7, who doesn't always get drafted, I'm going to be pretty heavily mixing Gerald Everett this week, just from that play. And then the one more name I wanted to bring up was Joe Mixon. Pete brought up how he really likes Samaje Perine this week. Doesn't think Mixon's going to get to go. Mixon's still in concussion protocol. He has not practiced yet. But just a name that, like, hey, here's another elite talent who could break the slate, who's going undrafted. And the reason I'm bringing up all these names is I'm thinking through what we did in hoops, a week ago, not less than a week ago, with Joker and with Ja. You know, they were on the injury report. They weren't supposed to play. Then all of a sudden they get downgraded. Then all of a sudden, oh, now they're going to play, and now they break the slate. Now, do I think Joe Mixon is a 1st-round pick in the same capacity that Joker or Ja would be on an isolated slate? No. Do I think he could provide at least 2nd or 3rd-round value with the upside of breaking the slate? Yes. So why not mix him in? And then if it doesn't go your way, you just get a swap, right? Like, what's the difference in drafting Pierce, White, Montgomery? Who else is in this range? Latavius Murray might have a backfield all to himself. Basically, Marlon Mack is the only guy there that's going to vie him for touches now. I don't know. Like, who's to say, right? Yeah. And then I wanted to bring up, I had 2 more names I wanted to bring up. David Johnson's back, guys. David Johnson's back. I don't know if you know, but Kamara missed practice yesterday with an illness. Oh, here we go. Everett Q tag was removed. So there you go. Full practice Thursday. So I'll pull up the practice report stuff in half a second there. But Kamara missed practice yesterday and the day before, or just yesterday. It was illness related. It was not injury related. We saw Taysom Hill get 9 carries last week, and Mark Ingram is still on the practice report, still limited. He may be trending in the right direction to play this week, but the only player behind him is David Johnson, basically. There's Dwayne Washington in that backfield as well. Neither are going to be playable in this format. So I've been leaning in a little bit, Taysom Hill. Just looking at the landscape of tight end this week, it is very top heavy with the Kelsey Andrews. And then after Kittle's performance, we see him get steamed a little bit, not quite as much as I thought, but he's kind of moved up 2 draft slots since that performance, because the drafting window would have been open technically on Monday night while he was playing and then seen it. But when I'm looking at the tight end position, I'm looking at the fact that who can break this slate wide open that isn't these top three names? Because we know Kelsey's and Andrews can break a slate any given week. We saw George Kittle just do what he does, where he does the annual 30, 40 burger out of nowhere. And then I'm kind of just sifting through these names. I like how I like Gerald Everett because of what we said about the Arizona tight end thing. But here we go. Cole Kmet might have no Justin Fields, right? And it's trending in the wrong direction for Justin Fields. So I want no part of Cole Kmet this week. Juwan Johnson, like he's found the end zone in 3 straight weeks. He's still only getting like 4 targets. He is a good receiving tight end. Smarter people than me were hyping him early in the year. I think it was mainly Crane was hyping him as like a tight end premium pickup in main event leagues. Yeah, but I'm looking at these names and I'm going like, okay, we can buy the volume that Greg Dolch is going to come around in an awful game environment where both teams have team totals under 20. And we saw what the Panthers did defensively last week to the Ravens, and we've seen how inept the Broncos could be. So it's kind of like, yeah, I could dive into like Dolch's usage and be like, hey, it's finally going to get home. Or I could just bet on the dude who had 9 fucking carries last week from the tight end position and threw the ball 3 times. Like, I don't think this is crazy galaxy brain to just be like Taysom Hill this week, especially if Kamara is like another DNP today and Mark Ingram does not play. That Taysom Hill is I don't know, he should be the 4th tight end off the board in every draft. I don't know. It's a little galaxy brain, and maybe ADP's catching up to it. And it was a sharper idea early in the week because he is the highest rising tight end, and people are kind of catching up with this mindset. But I'm looking lower down here, and I'm like, we could maybe capture some leverage in a guy like Gesicki for the highest team total on the slate in probably the best offensive game environment for a team, and then you get direct leverage off of like the Hill and Jeff Wilson going in the 4th round, and you get it off Waddle going in the 1-2 turn there. Maybe that's a point of play. But everybody else down here is just buying expected volume, right? Like Trey McBride's kind of interesting because, we talked up his receiving profile before the Island game slate. But, I mean, Kyler's coming back. Hopefully that matters. We could see potentially him falling into the end zone and getting 4 targets all of a sudden, especially given the Rondale Moore injury. So kind of a fun name at the back end there. Noah Fant and Will Dissly are just kind of like dart throws for touchdowns in a quality game environment. So what I'm trying to say basically is outside of like the very top heavy 2-3 tight ends, that like Taysom Hill's kind of like my favorite late round bet. Him and Gerald Everett are kind of my 2 favorite late round bets at tight end. And I can see ownership pushing like pretty heavy up over the course of the next 2 days in that direction. But all this to say that I think Mark Andrews needs to be higher. And I led with him as the cover boy. Again, he's been a pivotal talking point for us for a bit now because he was on an Island game slate where he was questionable to play. Then he ended up playing. He had the Q tag added midday in the draft lobbies. Then all of a sudden he plays. He gets injured with the shoulder. He's out. Then he's out the following week. We see what Isaiah Likely does, and it's like, holy shit, this is just a great role regardless of who's in it. Then he comes off the bye, doesn't practice, but says he's going to play. Then he plays. Doesn't play particularly well, but tight end was a wasteland last week, so it didn't kill you anyways. And now we're kind of like, are we going just back to this Andrews well? Like he's been such a pivotal talking point for us for like 3 weeks now, and it just feels like, gross. I just got to draft more Mark Andrews again, and it's kind of like, I think that's exactly what I'm gonna do, right? I'm not concerned about the Lamar stuff. They've basically come right out and said that Lamar is going to play. D. Owen's bringing up, what are we doing here? Yeah, Lamar, Andrews, Kirk. Like, yeah, I don't think it's terrifying. I think it might be my favorite 3-man or one of my favorite 3-mans at cost right now available on the slate. Yeah, here you go. Debo and Taysom for all the gadgets. Let's go. That's kind of fun. Yeah, Chip bringing up the fact that Kelsey or Everett are the only tight ends that he's taking. Like, I'm fine with that. If you want to get hyper exploitative at tight end this week, I think it's a great week to do so because it is kind of a dumpster fire outside of that. Now, that being said, you're either going to have to reach on Everett, like reach in quotations, in the fourth round to obtain him every single time, or you're going to have to go hard uh, in just the RNG and end up with a bunch of Kelsey at the top of the board. But I could see when the recreationals or more recreational style drafters start jumping in lobbies on Saturday and Sunday, because let's be fair, this is filling way slower than it has in past weeks because the Thursday contests were so big and the Thanksgiving slates, like, I mean, they had what, 7, 8 Thanksgiving slates? Like, that shit was popping off. It was incredible to see. They were just rolling out contest after contest. I was missing all of them. Like, I was doing other stuff, real life stuff on Tuesday and Wednesday, and I missed like 5 individual contests, including their biggest contest. Like, it was wild. Oh man, it's pretty funny. Brady's going to be motivated for his first single dad Thanksgiving to come out for 404. I love it so much. I love that so much. Let's go full narrative street on that. Yeah. Anyways, I'm really thinking through um, this slate, and I'm also thinking through this naked Mahomes right here in the same vein that we saw. Okay, it's slightly different because it would be a last round pick versus a first round pick, but we've talked up naked quarterbacks in this format that need pass catchers, because Mahomes isn't going to do it with his legs, right? And those are the quarter style quarterbacks we normally target as our naked one-offs, and that's kind of why we were all of the mindset that Daniel Jones yesterday was a better play than Mac Jones, when in fact the latter turned out to be true. I'm not sure. I really want to compile some more data here. I'm not sure how I feel about playing naked quarterback that is pocket passer without one. And this might just be my broken DFS brain that all of it has to be correlated and at least one piece has to be tethered. But we have seen naked quarterback who was not Fields, who was not whatever, win multiple times this year. And it's literally just a 6-leg parlay and you have to hit it. I'm not advocating to build that way, but my mindset is also loosening a little bit to the notion that if we just isolate Mahomes as the best play on the slate, period, at quarterback, like, why not just run him naked? Pete brought up the good point on Thursday or Wednesday to just pair him with Juju in the last round and then get the swap equity anyways, and then you end up with some naked Mahomes. I could get really on board with that this week. Yeah, James saying the exact same thing in the chat right now. Sharp point that Juju's free in the last round. He should have probably been one of those names that I targeted earlier when I was chatting up all those just quality football players that are available late in these contests that then we can swap off of. Yeah, anyways, just scrolling through ADP and picking out some names. Garrett Wilson is very interesting. Nez threw out a tweet and Hayden threw out a tweet at the exact same time. No one will ever know who sent it first, but it was definitely Nez. That Garrett Wilson is like, he could just be that dude now. We haven't seen Mike White in, I guess, a year and a half or whatever. And I don't know. It's not as fun as Flacco early in the year when they were chasing points and Flacco was forced to throw 50 times and he's just airing it out or whatever. But I do really think that Garrett Wilson has a stranglehold of that, WR1 position in as the first read option for the Jets now. And I think he's talented. And I think he has a suppressed ADP. And I think his quarterback play has greatly improved going into this week. So I think it's going to be a really sharp point to, harp on a little bit here as an unstacked late round one-off. I think his ADP should be, I mean, I wouldn't be taking Brandon Ayuk over him. I think this is purely reactionary to the 2 touchdowns. I think there's just way too many mouths to feed in that San Fran offense, and I think most of the San Fran players will be thrust up because of that. But I think in the same way, I don't think we were wrong. Let's backtrack for a second. My wheels are spinning. I don't think we were wrong in suggesting on the Monday night slate, Sunday Monday night slate, that we would only have a +2 max rule for pass catchers with Jimmy G. I think that game hit its ceiling outcome that was like 1 in 1,000 or whatever, where every pass catcher got home for him and he got home via them, and CMC and Eli Mitchell both did not. It was pretty extreme. It was a pretty extreme outlier to hit, and I don't think we should be chasing that again against the depleted secondary, right? Yeah, that's a good point. This is the Ayuk might just be thrust up. Maybe it was a bad name for me to pinpoint, but he might just be thrust up there because of a little uncertainty surrounding Debo. Yeah, okay, so we got the Mixons out. So there's a very good point there in let's get ahead of the field on Samaje Perine. Good pass catching back in a game environment that we think is one of the better ones on the slate. I mean, it's not the best, but we're looking at a team total of 23.5, which would rank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like maybe like sixth on the slate, something like that. And we know that the Bengals can score points in bunches. Yeah, I don't know, just a interesting one to throw out there. And yeah, Numi likes to go back to Spag's point about deep ball defense that he brought up there. I'm not sure if anything's changed in recent memory about the DVOA of deep ball defense or whatever that Spags was bringing up back then with the Titans, that they were vulnerable to the deep pass. I'm not sure that affects Perine so much, but he is a receiving back. But just in general, that game environment, something to little nugget that happened to fall out of my brain right there. Not sure that it matters. Let's draft a couple teams here and get some of the brigade in here and have a laugh. Let's do this. Yeah, do me a favor, hit that like, subscribe if you're hanging out. Appreciate you being here. I know this is primarily a family day. This is the hangover Friday with the family, where everybody sleeps over in their hometown and whatnot. So thanks for coming, hanging out. All right, here we go. Friends and family. We got Jag, we got Chip. Got Blake in here. Let's do it. The money 888. I know who he is too. He's in here too. Ah, damn. I always when the screen name's different than the handle. I know he's in here, and I know he's in the Discord as well. My bad, my friend. Yeah, so I think for the most part, the front end of the draft board this week is kind of set. You see Mahomes fall sometimes, but primarily only in sharper rooms. If the was a classic name, the Washington Foreskins. Wow, this is an incredible draft name. Let's go. Yeah, I think Kelsey is probably my 101 just because of what we were talking about earlier, how ugly the tight end position is and the replacement value associated with that. But I'm never going to fault anyone for taking Tyreek up there. I think Tyreek is my clear number 2. It gets kind of muddy in this range here. I think you can make a case for, I think Eckler's my favorite running back this week. Henry's in a great spot, obviously. But I think you can make a case for Eckler. You can make a case for CMC. You can make a case for Henry. You can make a case for Andrews. I'm going to be team thrusting Andrews up, which I've already explicitly stated. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I got 2 sharp drafters behind me. I do want to get ahead at the tight end position. And I do think Mark Andrews has break the slate upside on versus the Jags this week. James is. There we go. Rob, okay. So Rob is here and James is here. Okay, I got you guys now. It's so hard for me to keep. I mean, I should be way more dialed on this, But when everybody's name is different in Discord, then different in the YouTube chat, and then different on the platform, I'm like, I'm all over the place here. But I know who I know. You know what I'm saying? Okay, this is a fun decision point here. I think anyone with Mahomes is going to gravitate towards. I just talked up a little bit how I don't mind maybe a naked Mahomes. So let's put my money where my mouth is and take a naked Mahomes here, or maybe fall back on Juju in the last round there. I think it's very interesting here because I think this will be a very unique combination, Mahomes Andrews. And speaking of which, we can bring up I got the turkey slate up. Let me see if I refresh. Um, Dang. I was trying to look at the combinatorial ownership of that on Chad's sheet, but I might have Chad's sheet saved as just the turkey sheet right now. Okay, I'll find it in a sec. But thinking out loud and thinking through this, I think that if someone doesn't take, if you're not in a recreational room, I think Mahomes gets pushed down a little bit, right? I think the Kelsey owner is always waiting for Mahomes to come back in hopes of that occurring. We've seen it occur once or twice so far. I don't think many people are going to go tight end quarterback just given the way ADPs are this week because we have still not seen another quarterback get drafted. It's going to be very rare to see a tight end and a quarterback drafted in the first 2 rounds unless it's Lamar with Andrews or Mahomes with Kelsey. I think it's going to be quite rare for someone to go Andrews in the first when he has an 8 ADP and then go to the Mahomes in the second there. I kind of like this bring back here. I think I'm fine with ATN. I think I might prefer waiting and getting like a Christian Kirk bring back after we saw him, his target share is just ridiculous there. Yeah, I'm just trying to think out some back stuff. I think I'm going to go full-fledged naked with Mahomes. No pass catcher and no bring back. I don't really want any part of a Bryce Perkins-led Rams offense. I think maybe you could make, I don't know, maybe you could go full Galbrain and like say that Cam Akers this week is viable or in play. But I do not like it. I do not love it. I'm going to try and set up a little mini here in my mind. And I think Debo's a go this week. We did see, so I believe, I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I believe it's still the calf. We did see it, like basically after he ripped that 40-whatever yard touchdown and the game was over, you saw him on the sideline getting his calf massaged and the trainers were working on him, blah, blah, blah. What are they They're classifying it as a hamstring. This team is loaded and they might be the best team in the NFC and they might be the NFC favorite. So you might see them lean in the I don't know that their record suggests that they can start resting a dude like Debo this early, but I do think it's in consideration that they can take care of the Saints without him. So why push him if he's not 100%? But the fact that he's had back-to-back limited practices seems pretty encouraging to me. And it did look like he was ready to come back, like just from the Bro Science eye test. It looked like he was ready to come back in the ball game. Whatever. What the fuck do I know? But like just throwing it out there. We got the little mini to fall back to us. I was trying to set up this. I know off the top I set up the Taysom working into him, and maybe he's ill right now, blah blah blah. But I do kind of like buying the dip on the premium talent that is Alvin Kamara, and I do think in a trailing script versus a Niners team, if they are able to keep their foot on the gas offensively like we saw last week, and they don't even have to put up like the 40 burger or whatever, like if they just put up mid-20s on them and all of a sudden we get a little chase from the Saints side, I'm about it. Yeah, we saw Chip. I said the word Chase, and then I just instantly thought to look where he's going. So that ADP is still getting thrust up, right? Yeah, I kind of like a one-off Marquise Brown here, like I was hyping, but I think I can also get it via swap if I lean into this Juju. So I know I'm a fraud. I'm a fraud and a failure. But the full practices for Juju for the second highest team total on the slate, getting him at a sixth round discount. That feels like a really nice backstack with Mahomes. I know. I said I was going to run him naked. I know I'm a coward. I fell back into my DFS skinny stack mindset. I'm pathetic. It's fine. It's fine. You guys are right. I'm not going to say you're wrong. You guys are right. You guys are right. You know. Oh man. Chip, I was a little bit behind here. Wanted to point out that Mike White and Russ Wilson have the same ADP. Wow. Yeah, that's incredible, man. Like looking back on it, like how dumb are we with these like week 17 stacks where we're like, yeah, we got to hammer that game. And we were thrusting up those stacks to be like, yeah, we got to get the run back for like Russ in that Chiefs Broncos game in week 17. Like it's what we said in the offseason, man. We don't know shit, let alone what we're going to know in week 17. Like these change week to week so far over. And that's why I'm a BR guy, man. I'm not smart enough to recognize that this was even in the possibility of range of outcomes, right? I'm just going to go week by week and figure it out as we go, pick up on the new trends as we go here. What did I say here? Updating the badge right now. What is he talking about? I don't know. Okay, let's do a little quick breakdown, quick little saucing of the teams here. Well, a little fourth round Tua to pair with Waddle. I like that a lot because the times in which I've seen it, Waddle gets kind of thrust up over here, and then Tua has to be a snap third round pick because he doesn't come back around. So not unique, but like just kind of fun like that. Don't love Komet this week. I talked about that one off the hop there. Very sound, structurally intelligent. Here's a fun one. Traylon right here. I mean, Traylon has really commanded targets. And if we think targets are an earned stat, which I'm inclined to believe, he has really commanded a target share when on the field. He has not now let me put some stats so I'm not just like fully full of shit spewing it on the stream here. But he is nowhere near a full snap load yet there, and he still had 8 catches last week. What did he end up with? He played 50% of the snaps, and he was worked over by both the corpse of Robert Woods and NWI Westbrook Keena there, and he is just finding ways to get open. And the fact that this offense now has Tannehill back, we've seen it the last 2 weeks. And I think Numi or someone pointed out in one of our chats, might have been Pete as well, the throwing prop of Ryan Tannehill for this week was like one of the most off base ones across all books. I don't know if it's moved right now, not financial advice, but just comparative to the projections that we were seeing from, we kind of combined the ETR, the Blitz, and Stochastic into like one thing. I'd bring it up on stream, but I don't really feel comfortable exposing other people's paywall content like that. I like to be, a man of the people and respect their businesses that they're trying to run there. But we amalgamate those three kind of into one sheet there and think through it. And one of the biggest glaring ones was Ryan Tannehill's passing yards prop this week was very underrepresented relative to the projections. So I do think that one-off Traylon and betting on this like 7-catch, 8-target game, that 111 kind of finding the end zone. I think this might be a hot take, but I think on a competitive team with Tannehill now back It wasn't my original thesis for why Treylon Burks was going to be good, but Treylon Burks could be this year's Amon-Ra St. Brown to close the year. I don't know. It feels like maybe that's spicy as hell. Maybe that's going a little too far with it. But like, there's no one else to pass the ball to in that offense that is anywhere remotely close to his level of talent. And now that he's healthy, he's 2 games removed from the IR, and we're seeing those snap counts tick up, some familiarity in the offense. You see this like rookie wide receivers post by later in the year, blah, blah, blah. Why can't Treylon be that guy? I mean, if he was available, he's not anymore, but if he was available in anybody's home leagues like a week and a half ago and wasn't on somebody's IR or something, I mean, I thought that was an absolute smash pickup, and I think this is a really sharp pick here. Let's see what's up with these with James and Rob's teams here. Falling into that Brady double. You know I love it. You know I love this. And this is a very smart way to build out that Brady double from Rob, where he just goes, hey, we're getting 2 of the best running back plays on the slate early. We know we're building out to a free Brady. As long as Mike Evans comes back in the 3rd round, we're going to be fine here. You thrust up Chris Godwin over ADP, so you instantly get a little more unique, even if someone's trying to build this out, because most people, I think, will try and wait for the Chris Godwin to come out, and they would take tight end first here, so you instantly get a little different in your builds or whatever. I'm about this. I'm very about this. The Gerald Everett, very smart from James. I like that one. Naked Lamar is kind of fun this week. I will throw out the name to Marcus Robinson. They seem to have something there. Like, they seem to have a bit of a rapport. They have something. The coaching staff really likes him. They brought him over. We saw basically the last 2 or 3 weeks now without Bateman. Like, we thought we'd be seeing some Devin Duvernay show and this sort of thing. And it was just kind of like, let me see here. Let me make sure. That first Duvernay game before I think he got hurt halfway, something like that. Yeah, I mean, like, that's not out of play. All of a sudden, he just gets 9 targets and 128 yards. I mean, that's not out of play. That's a good way to get unique off of Lamar. And we've heard both JM and Mark come on the show and talk about how the Ravens, like, this isn't old Lamar. This isn't old Lamar. Maybe we need a pass catcher to get home with him. And here's a name that nobody's drafting. I mean, let me cross-reference the sheet. But I think nobody's even going to come. Brian Robinson's going to have a higher ADP. Allen Robinson, he's not even going to be the highest Robinson off the board. Yeah. Demarcus Robinson with a flat 36. Fun name to mix in late. This is a fun slate to draft. I'm going to be hammering them over the next couple of days. Make up for that lack of volume I got down in the turkey slate. Jump in 1 or 2 more here. Streaming by myself, okay. It's okay. I feel like things are going okay, not overly smooth. We had it set up poorly to start there. But I miss the boys. I'm not going to lie. I miss the boys. I like a little banter. I like a little chat. I like a little peanut gallery. I like them making fun of me. Come on. This is sad that they're not here, but I'm glad that everybody still came out, jammed with us. Do me a favor, hit that like, subscribe, use that promo code Badge Bros in the merch store. Get yourself a nice t-shirt. Nobody's making any money off that shit. That's just pure support for the show, and love to see it. Get those in the mail and start sending some pics around. Start showing off that nice gear. Oh, and for whatever reason, if you don't already play on the platform, I don't know what you're doing with your time if you're not playing Underdog. It seems like a poor use of your time if you're not playing on Underdog. But if you happen to be just catching us for the first time or catching the show for the first time, use that promo code BADGE for $100 match deposit. Link in the description. That's what the streamers say, you know. I'm figuring this shit out. I'm figuring it out. The neighborhood. He's got the U in there. That's how you know he's Canadian. Let's go. Yeah, I don't think there's much to say here. For me, I think it's a very, very clear top 2 and then a slight gap break and then Austin Eckler for me this week. I think I'm going to be getting pretty exploitative this week in terms of hitting on who I think the best plays are and caring a little bit less about my correlation patterns. That being said, as we go through this draft, I'm probably going to absolutely butcher that and cannibalize myself with that take. But just things I've been thinking through. Drew saying he's got basically the same team as Chip, only difference Jeff Wilson in the 4th, Godwin in the 6th. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The closer we tether to ADP, that we will see commonality in our builds with one another. And I think that's why it's so important to just harp on what we always say. Just scroll the fuck down over and over. Put it in the Turkey article. Numi always harps on it on the show. And even I'm so guilty of not listening to Numi when he says it. Like, just keep scrolling down. There's a lot of talented football players in a lot of good spots that were way down here. Like, whether or not Marquise Brown plays, whatever, but he was not drafted in the previous draft. Fields now has the doubtful tag. Like Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton was getting drafted damn near every draft last week. That the same narrative still applies. Like, he can get 7 or 11 targets without Judy there on the clock. I think this is slam dunk McCaffrey for me. If you could have told me 6 weeks ago that Christian McCaffrey would be going at the back end of the 2nd round, I'd be taking it every single time. There is some merit to setting up the Tua double, but when Tua goes in front of us instead of Waddle going in front of us, I think we just forget it. I'm not going to double stack Waddle plus Hill without Tua, though it would be an extreme path to uniqueness. I do think pass catching running back paired with pass catching tight end is not a terrible idea. I don't think it's overly negatively correlated. I'm going to take T. Higgins here, though. That was me speaking to pairing Kittle with McCaffrey. I actually had a lot of Kittle plus McCaffrey in the Monday night contest because I think they pair very well together. But let's take T. Higgins. We saw a crazy boost in volume last week. If we don't get Jamar Chase, we might see something similar. If we do get Jamar Chase, his splits are actually better with Jamar Chase on the field. So just something to think about there, that like we shouldn't be scared off T. Higgins this week because Jamar Chase may or may not be coming back, most likely coming back. His splits are actually better with him on the field. So if we can take Chase went right in front of him. If we can take, we don't have to stack T. Higgins, but if we know where the Chase has been drafted, most people aren't going to run naked Burrows. So I think there's a lot of merit in taking T. Higgins after and then boxing out and taking Burrow before that player can. Not that we're playing simply versus that player, just from a game theory standpoint of how we can construct a roster in this lobby. I'm not saying like, hey, we're fucking his team. Like, I don't give a shit about that other player's team. I'm just thinking out loud of how we could make our team better. I think there is, did Josh Jacobs go 9? Okay. He went before McCaffrey. Okay. That's interesting. I kind of like that. I mean, maybe not over McCaffrey. I think I might do something a little weird here. I do like the Taysom bring back a lot. I do like the Everett plus Herbert. I'm going to do this. Okay. We're going to take Everett. We're going to give this player the Burrow. Hopefully he just takes Burrow because it's right in front of his face. And then we're going to take Herbert here. After I said I wasn't as concerned about stacking and correlating. We're going to take the Herbert here. And then we're going to leave ourselves with a bunch of options. We're going to leave ourselves with James Conner potentially coming back. We're going to leave ourselves with Alvin Kamara potentially coming back. We're going to leave ourselves with the deep dive Marquise Brown coming back. Or there was one other name I had in my mind. Or the Keenan Allen, and we turn it into a triple with no run back, which is probably my least favorite of the options just because. Yeah. Anyways, just thought process. I like to. It's hard sometimes when we're streaming, especially if we're doing like $100 one, and a lot of people in here are also watching the stream. But I feel pretty safe in saying that James is the only one in here watching this stream, so I can kind of talk pretty candidly. Granted, it's a $5 draft too. I could basically talk candidly about any of them, in that we don't get sniped here, just to like share my thoughts. Homer. I was pretty high on this. Here's a nice one. Ajay Pacheco, like, probably should have been included when I was doing that little deep dive off the hop there. Admittedly, was flying by the seat of my pants a little bit, but the Pacheco one is very interesting because it's good leverage off of the fact that Kelsey and Mahomes get drafted in the first round. Keenan Allen falls back to us, so we do have a decision to make here. But I think I'm going to stick with my original plan and shoot the moon on a low-owned Marquise coming back. And I honestly, I honestly don't love a triple. I would rather take a shoot the moon Marquise on a pitch count. I know it has a clearer path to ceiling than does a triple stack with no bring back. In my opinion, in these contests, what we've been seeing, and I think I've spoken at great length how the smaller the slate, the more densely I want things to be correlated. The larger the slate, I think we're over correlating because you're asking too much from one game or one game environment, especially when that game is very high owned. So I do kind of like just randomly like plucking one out. All right, you know what, Blake? I will do. Okay, let's do one last one here. Okay, so Blake's in this draft. I always mix up the BB Breck and the BB Rob's team, BB Brick. Yeah, that's what I always do with their screen names. Don't mix them up as human beings. Just mix them up out here. Yeah, I think this is interesting. He has 2 Hill plus Waddle with no Tua, and then they have Burrow Chase. I'm fine with it. I think that's it's very cool. Very cool, unique construction. I think most of the times I end up with a Hill plus Waddle, it will be because I got sniped on Tua by somebody, most likely a recreational player, running, naked Tua, which doesn't make a lot of sense. I know you said solo navigator hoops would be great content. All right, you know what? You guys are right. You guys are right. Blake and Chip are right. Me solo navigating a hoops without Numi's sheet, without any prior knowledge, without even knowing a single game total. We're gonna build a hoops team here. Okay. It's gonna be for the people. I'm about it. Have a little fun on this pseudo holiday Friday. This Friday must be the biggest punt day ever, right? Like nobody fucking works on this Friday, right? Like this is just like it's a pseudo holiday. And if it's not a holiday, like everybody takes it off kind of deal, unless you're in like the retail space. Oh man. What's running through the back of my mind right now is from this 6 slot, how beautiful that Brady double looked that Rob drafted. I keep fucking up. Okay, you know what? Fuck it. We're doing it again. We're building the exact same team again, and we're going to build it differently just to find a way to get unique. Let's do this. I'm going to be the only guy on the face of the planet with multiple Mahomes plus Andrews non-correlated stacks. I'll be like, what is this idiot doing? And then all of a sudden you see my name at the top of the leaderboard for first, second, and third because they both smashed, but then the other pieces of the game didn't get home. It's such a thin needle to thread, but like I love the thought process associated with it. The grosser the better. At this point in the season, Nez bringing up, at this point in the season, the grosser the better, and this will be the week that heavy correlation pays off. I like that take. I like the fact that I don't know. I don't know. Like it's so weird because like it's like we've said so many times, like we only have 11 full slates of data in those contests, and each contest, given the size of those contests, are so distinctly different that like I can't even cross compare the data of a 3-gamer and a 2-gamer because they're so distinctly different than like the turkey. Like we wrote it up in the article on Underdog this week that just like we're dealing with the exact same slate in the turkey and the big gobble, but they were completely different contests because of how many people were in the draft, how the payout structure was, all these sort of things. So, I mean, it's going to take us years to have full slate data, and Underdog doesn't even give us the data yet, right? So we're going to have all that data and then back construct it, and then we probably still won't know shit. Like I still don't know who is. I've played 20 million hands of poker. I still don't know. I'm in the top 1% on earth in cash games. I'm pretty confident I can say that. But like, I still don't know. And I've played 20 million hands. I've played for 10 years, right? Like, it's bizarre. It's crazy what sample size does to like our frame of mind and that sort of thing. I don't know. It's weird. Okay, so he does us a favor and takes Lamar there, even though we couldn't have taken a quarterback. I kind of like making the Chase bet here. His ADP has been thrust up so heavily, but I still think he's a value in this spot. It's kind of wild. I mean, yeah, it's just like I don't know what there is to say other than it's Jamar Chase in a good matchup versus a bad deep ball defense in the 3rd round over and over again. And I don't care that other people have him in the 5th, in the 6th. Like, it doesn't matter. I'll just get home in a different way. Let's do the Christian Kirk here. Let's do. I talked a little bit how I liked the Kirk angle to this game slightly better than the ATN, given their ADPs. Let's get a little mini there off of that and get some fun stuff going on out here. I do think it'd be an interesting idea to pair Mahomes with Jerick McKinnon. It might be too thin for this contest, but it would be crazy unique, and it'd be a very interesting bet on a very specific game script now that CEH is not active. But you could also make the same bet with Pacheco and get the rushing floor, I think. But yeah, I don't know. But back to what Nez was saying, like, yeah, it's just we flip flop these narratives so much of like, well, is it going to be correlation? Are we over correlating? Are we whatever? Or we just trust the process and blindly trust the process till we don't know when the process can be trusted anymore, right? It becomes it's this delicate act to walk, like this delicate tightrope to walk over and over again because we don't have the data to back any of it up to definitively say. And then when we do have the data, like we did in the NFL best ball off season, we utilize it wrong or we overcorrect because we're like, oh, this data is hard data. And it's like, no, it's still a very small sample size. So all that to say, like, man, like just keep telling yourself stories with these lineups and like we're going to get home. But like, I don't know. It's very interesting. This is kind of cool that Nick Chubb fell back this far. Admittedly, don't love Chubb this week, but the fact that we don't have a running back on this team and we could have done like a little mini there might have been fun. I am leaning. So the name in the back of my mind this whole time was Treylon Burks. I really like that play that Chip did earlier, and I really like betting on being ahead of rookie breakouts. And there are so many good reasons to try and be ahead of the Treylon Burks one this week. And then we kind of get that mini correlation with Chase there. We got a mini game correlation here. And now I think we just go one-off running back. I know what I said in terms of like the McKinnon. I think it's really thin. Making the McKinnon bet seems pretty gross. I think we just have to take Chubb like at such a great discount and consider the fact that this is what makes us unique is the late Treylon on this roster is what makes us unique off of the Chase. Though this lineup did kind of gravitate towards the chalk outside of the fact that we paired Mahomes naked with Andrews. So I think our uniqueness in this build comes through that, because I think Christian Kirk is going to be a very easy click for anyone who's clicking on Mark Andrews this week. I wanted to talk through one more point on this board, so I'm going to save it real quick. Okay. I want to talk through one more thing with this team. Oh, fuck, I lost ADPs, because ADPs is what I wanted to talk through. It's a point that I've brought up in the past. I've tweeted about it. I've written about it. I want to harp on it over and over again. We took Christian Kirk at pick 19. His ADP is 30. That, in our minds, makes us unique. That, in our minds, tells us, like, hey, we reached above ADP. This is a unique piece. It is not unique in any regard, because we then paired him with Mark Andrews, which is going to be an extremely chalky correlation point. And then in this last round, instead of going and scrolling the F down, which I should have done, but I was enamored with the fact that Chubb's name was in there, right? I was enamored with the fact that his name was just sitting right there. And it's like, oh my God, 6th round Nick Chubb, I cannot pass this up, which there is some merit to that. But the fact of the matter is, this is the exact same team as somebody who drafted Nick Chubb, but just did it at ADP in the 4th. Because Nick Chubb's ADP is like 20. So we get him in the 4th round there. Then all of a sudden you just take Christian Kirk at 30, and then you take Treylon Burks at 31. And this roster is not unique in any regard, other than the fact that maybe the pairing of Mahomes and Andrews is what gives it uniqueness. So it's just a point that I want to bring up, that even me on the fly doing these, who's done whatever 5,000 of these drafts over the last year in multiple sports, still makes these like critical mistakes when we're trying to build like a nice looking roster. We forfeited all the uniqueness we were trying to obtain by reaching on Christian Kirk in this build. We gave it all back by taking Nick Chubb down below at a discount, which would actually just flip their ADPs, and we got ourselves a chalk ass build. So we better hope that Mahomes plus Andrews is low owned for us to score any points in a unique fashion here. Anyways, nice little rant to harp on a point that I've brought up so many fucking times, and those who are here every day are probably sick of hearing about that. But I'm gonna keep bringing that one back, because I do think it's a very, very important point. Chip saying that he's the thought leader. Yeah, you are the thought leader there. You incepted my brain on the Treylon Burks. I was on the Treylon Burks a little bit. I should have mentioned him off the hop. I got a couple of his mixed in already. Yeah, so that's just Rob playing to our point of the McKinnon, that McKinnon has multiple double-digit target games. Like, if we don't get Juju this week, and we don't get Kadarius Toney this week, and we don't have CEH, why can't Jarrett McKinnon be the second highest targeted player on that team? Why can he not play 48 to 55% of the snaps and be the second highest targeted player, getting the ball in his hands in space, something that he clearly has excelled at for a long time? Yeah, Chip bringing it up. No, nobody's taking Burks but the Badge Bros, right? Burks is still kind of off the board. It's a good point. I mean, the roster does get unique by that combination and the fact that no one's touching Treylon. But the thing I will say about Treylon is the smart people that are touching Treylon are touching Treylon as a run back off Jamar. So now all of a sudden we're threading the needle of that correlation pairing, opposed to it being a pure one-off. So it's interesting. A lot of stuff to just talk through and think through with these games. That, like, these games are far more they're very simplistic at their like base level, and the further we go down the rabbit hole, they're so complex. And then when you just dial it all back and strip it all away, it's just like, tell yourself a smart story and build a line. And it's the classic, the galaxy brain meme where they have the bell curve or whatever, where it like spikes in the middle, and it's the monkey brain on this side and the super sharp brain on this side, and they arrive at the same conclusion, right? And I think we're not fully there yet because I do think there is still an edge, like Nez is suggesting, in these games in making sharp lineups and not just like throwing shit against the wall and hoping it sticks by building crazy one-offs. But if I'm going to build crazy one-offs, I'm going to build them intelligently with highly projected players from, projection models that are smarter than just me. Anyways, that's all we're going to do for football this week. We were thinking through an article. We're going to continue this series on the written series with Hayden and be writing up some of our content and overlaying some of our clips on the Underdog site. Really excited for that. And I think our first week of full main slate content in that regard is coming next week. It's not going to be this week, given the fact that everybody's off and everybody's away and that sort of thing. But what the people have really stuck around for. Here we go. Time for me to butcher some names. Time for me to get weird. Time for me to screw up some draft lobbies. This is going to be the most plus EV Badge Pro draft of the week. If you can possibly get in the Fast Break Friday with my screen name, you are printing money. Get on in here. Oh, yeah, look at that. It already fills. The people know. The people know I'm coming. They're EV hunting, right? Yeah, that's saying that the written content's going to be Fuego. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We are kind of messing around with format. Hayden gave us some notes based on the first one that we did there, and we're gonna mix and match and figure it out on the fly here. If there's anyone has any ideas or suggestions, I think the chart was a hit. Hayden said the chart was a hit that led the article off with, like, how in the past, if you've been an OG of this show, in the past, we've kind of done like the talk around points of like our favorite two-man. I think I still have them. I still have them right here. Yeah, where we've done like favorite two-man stacks of expensive ones, cheap ones, favorite undrafted. I think we're gonna make this kind of like a series and make it a bit, and each of us kind of, not tout. I don't want to be a tout, but like share some of our favorite picks in the same regard in which I started the show with, sharing some of those one-offs, sharing some of those ideas. I think that's going to be one that sticks in the article. I want to do some theoretical and overarching, some game theory, that sort of stuff, because I'm a sicko like that. That's what interests me about these contests. So I think I'll continue to write some more macro stuff as well as slate-specific stuff. Let's see here. So we got Ja versus the Pelicans. Ja can fill it up versus anybody. But like Bradley Beal, I just in my mind, I'm like, yo, he's not that great a defender. So like Ja's gonna like just torch his ass. That's my take right there. So we're going Ja right here. I don't think we're deviating too far from ADP to start here. The dream is that SGA comes back. He does not. SGA was my guy, LeBron's got the probable tag. You know what? I'm just going to flat out say it. I'm fucking sick of LeBron. Beef Stew would beat the shit out of him if they had let him get after him. Beef Stew's my guy. Out of Beef Stew solidarity. That's an absolute tongue twister. We're going with my boy Trae Young. Trae Young, in the same regard as Ja, just hella swag from that draft class. Like, they can both fill it up. They're so nasty. Yeah. Oh, being on Hodgson's gave me too much. Hey, you know what? If Isaiah Hodgson scores that it doesn't get that touchdown called back, I think it's the same shout at a cheaper price point than Richie James was. I think Isaiah Hodgins. Isaiah, did I say that right? Yeah. I think no, it was Isaiah McKenzie. Hodgins. Why am I screwing this up? But I think he was like a fine one-off play. I mean, like, what was the alternative? The alternative was taking like Kenny Galladay or something like that. And look at how fucking dumb that one looks now. Like, no, I think it was definitely a solid play. Yes, thank you. It was a solid play. Yes. Okay, here we go. So that off to a white hearts that say Bradley Beal plays for the Pels. Okay, who was I thinking of? CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum plays for the Pels. Bradley Beal plays for Washington. I'm on it, guys. This is the content that people are here for. So we could pair DeJounte Murray And I got a good take on this. I'm not afraid to pair DeJounte Murray with Trae Young because they don't play all that much together anymore. They'll both start, they'll both play together, but they've been staggering their minutes because the two things that they do well, they both do well. And DeJounte Murray, good UW boy. I remember seeing him play at UW. He was real nice. I'm about him. Let's go. One of the best mid-range shooters in the game, maybe. I think so. I'm throwing it out there. Maybe him and DeMar DeRozan, like they're just money. They're cash from the elbow. And everybody knows that the way to beat the Rockets is just to torch Jalen Green off the dribble and pull up from the elbow. That's how you beat the Rockets. All right? It's very, very simple math here. All right, we got Zion out here. We got the unicorn, Porzingis, just sitting in our laps here. Are you kidding me? Miami, is Bam back? Oh, Bam's probable. Okay, so, all right. I was about to hype Porzingis and be like, he's the unicorn, like, blah, blah, blah. What's he doing here? I'm fucking out on him. I'm out on him, and I'll tell you why. Because Bam is a grown-ass man. Bam's like 265 pounds of pure strength. He's going to be in the low block. He's going to put that skinny European on his left hip. He's going to knock his ass on the floor. He's just going to dominate down low tonight. Bam is my pick. Bam is my pick here. Porzingis is not my guy. All right. Let's see. Yeah, I'm a versatile guy, I could talk a little hoops here. I'm like the guy at the end of the bar who's like, nobody's talking to him. He's just got a cold one in front of him, and then all of a sudden he just pipes in with like, yeah, but like the usage rate of so and so is down this week, and then like people are like, whoa, dude, do you know hoops? And I can fake it for like 3 minutes. This is where we're gonna get thin. The back end of the draft board here. D'Anthony Melton is a guy I was overweight the other day because my spreadsheet told me to be. It's I don't know if the theory still applies with the Sixers if a bunch of guys are still out or not. But yeah, I mean, if is Harris still out? Let's see here. Okay, Tobias Harris is back. Joel is out. That Reed guy, Reed balled out last game, but it was a shorter slate. I think maybe he's starting at center. Oh my god, I just shit all over Porzingis, and now we're gonna have to draft him because he just keeps coming. I might stand my ground here on Porzingis and just be like, you know what, Bam's a grown ass man. But is there a little bit of correlation there? If this game goes to overtime with a high total, fine, we're doing it. Let's see. I said I wouldn't bring up any sheets or any information or anything, but I'm going to have to look at like at least like some team totals or something. Starting lineups. All right. Let's see if I was even close with the Heat game having a high total. Oh, this Rockets game's got a high total, and we're all in on that one. That one's good. The Heat one is definitely not a high total. We are not about that. All right. Now we're going to have to scroll down here. We're late in this draft. Kuzma. Oh, Simmons has been killing it, and he's available pretty late here. But I think almost everyone's back, and his usage rate is like, Numi was saying his usage rate's really bad when everybody's back on the floor. But I know this guy's been killing it recently because Chip in the Discord won't stop talking about how his old guy Simmons is harping on him. Yeah, okay. Wow, I know that the Pacers, not just their name, the Pacers are a pace-up spot. I know this. But it does feel a little chalky to not scroll down a little further, no? Bradley Beal, there's my guy. We already got Porzingis. Jalen Green. There we go. Jalen Green. Trae plays no defense. Jalen Green can fill it up. He's back tonight. He's got the probable tag. I think Jalen Green, if we're betting on this game being the game you need, in having DeJounte and Trae Young. My broken correlation brain suggests that Jalen Green is going to get torched on the dribble again, and then he's going to fill it up on the other end as well. There we go. There you go. That's some bro science tank there. Kyle Lowry, biggest butt in the league. What do we got here? Is Lowry the play again? Lowry's broken a couple slates in the past. The chat's on one right now. Yeah, I'm gonna ship solo hoops one of these days, and you guys are gonna love it. I'm gonna be insufferable after it happens. Rob bringing up that Mostert has an uphill battle to play Sunday. I mean, that Jeff Wilson in the 4th round is a lot of fun. If he ends up with 22, 23 carries against a team that misses the most amount of tackles in the league, let's go. Also regret to inform everybody that it's Kyle Lowry night again. I believe it. Jimmy's out. Okay, so Jimmy's out. The Heat have literally had like 7 or 8 people active like on the bench for like the last couple games. Like everyone's been hurt. That's why I bet on Bam. That's why I'm betting on Bam. You know, I'm just making the same bet but through a different guy. I'm betting on Bam tonight. Yeah, right. So Simmons' usage rate is terrible, but like we've talked about Simmons on the show before, how what he does. Okay, I got the hoops. I got the itch. We're jumping in here again. Is there a more expensive one? Is there a $25 or something? No. If I was gonna do like one more hoops one, I'd want it to be like 20 or 25 or 50 or something. Let's see. All right, let's do this. Yeah, we talked about how like what Anthony Davis does really well, what Ben Simmons does really well, plays way up in the underdog and the FanDuel scoring comparatively to the DK scoring where majority of people's eyeballs look, oh, okay, influencer 101, not a big deal, badged up, let's go. Yeah, for me, it's a pretty easy click tonight on Giannis. I just think, you know, range of outcomes. Giannis gets home with that 50 burger far frequently in a Cleveland matchup versus Jared Allen, Evan Mobley. He gets there you go. He backs him down. You know, he's a good ball handler for a big. You know, coming at the hoop. Bad footwork for Mobley underneath the hoop. Yeah, that's my take. Oh. All right, let's do a little on the fly research here. I do not know if, given the fact that it's a pseudo holiday today, I don't think Numi is doing his NBA sheet. I don't think the NBA sheet is up in the Discord, so I think everybody's gonna be flying blind. Myself, most notably. All right, we're gonna take Giannis here. I think Giannis just feels like a safe, fun click. All right. I think, you know, I might try and lean into this Brooklyn Pacers game tonight. There's a lot of nice pieces here. How about a 6th round Buddy Hield? Is that available right now? That feels like a fun spot where, like, you know, he can fill it up a little bit. Maybe not. He's kind of dust now. I thought he was sick. I thought he could shoot the 3 really well. Man, we gotta have. You know what? I'm gonna message Spags right now. Next week we should do an NBA show, NBA After Dark. I'll facilitate. Won't say much other than famous last words that I won't say much. But won't say much other than like a little peanut gallery, a couple jokes here and there, and just let Spags and Numi go to town talking like some legit hoop stuff. Now that I know the both of them have got some heavy drafts under their belts. Maybe that'd be a lot of fun. Hopefully we can get in touch with Spags here this week and set something like that up. That feels like a good show. The people have been clamoring for Numi After Dark. We want Numi to let his hair down a little bit for like an After Dark stream where, you know, he sucks a couple beers back. Oh shit, we're on the clock. DeMar DeRozan, we're not touching. Fuck that guy. Nope. Not going back to that well. I like Halliburton. We just talked up. This game's going to play with tempo. It's going to be high scoring. I like Halliburton. And I'd like to take my boy my UW boy DeJounte, but I don't think I'm going to because we built around him last time. Let's take Donovan Mitchell for a little bro science run back. Garland is 100% playing, right? Okay. So less than desirable. I'm always looking, as a hoops thought leader, I'm always checking, who's maybe probable, who's questionable, whatever, because you could potentially get like Mitchell in the third round on one of those slates where like Garland's got the Q tag and he's just worth so much more because if one of them ends up, like it applies to both of them, if one of them ends up out, they're basically a fringe first round pick there, right? This is the best comp I've ever heard. DeMar DeRozan is basically Kyle Pitts. Yes, we're enamored with him. We always click his name, and he does nothing but let us down. That is exactly who DeMar DeRozan is to me. Although I do feel bad for him when the Raptors did win the ship. Like DeMar DeRozan was like the face of that franchise for like a long time. Him and Kyle Lowry, and then all of a sudden they dish him, and then all of a sudden they dish him, and it's just like then they get the Kawhi piece, then they win a chip. Like I felt bad for the dude because like he's a really good basketball player. He's probably been the best mid-range shooter in the game for 10 years, right? So I kind of felt bad for him there. Now this is an interesting conversation to have if Garland falls back to us, whether we want to pair, like, go all in on this game environment. I mean, Miles Turner, you want to talk about another guy who's like, better in basketball, better in this format. This is the guy, man. This is the guy. I'm going to stick to my guns here, though. Jared Jackson's ADP would be higher, and it's been like kind of suppressed recently because he was coming back from the injury, limited minutes and whatever. Tonight's the night for him. Tonight is the night. He's had 2 good games since being back. No minutes restriction, I think. I'm not going to take Turner, even though everything he does well on this site is exactly what we want in a fantasy player. I'm just not going to take him because I already have Halliburton. I'm going to take Bam. My dog is scratching at the door somewhere. We're leaning into Bam tonight. It's Bam's night. Fuck Kyle Lowry. Come. Actually, I take that back. Not fuck Kyle Lowry. I like him. He's and we need both of them to get home tonight. If all these guys are banged up on the Heat, we want both Lowry and Bam to get home tonight. I think that's a good one to lean into. Yeah, this is a good show. That was one of the best conference finals versus the Bucks, right? Like, actually, fun story. A couple buddies, friends of the show, bachelor party in Toronto, were at that clinching game, sitting up in the bleeds for the guys' bachelor party. So that's really cool. Yeah. Oh wait, am I thinking of? Wait. No, they played the Sixers and then they played the Bucks, right? They played the Bucks for the East Final, right? Oh, it's just the series versus the Sixers. Okay, yeah. They were at the Bucks one. They were at the Bucks clinching one, which that was the conference finals, I believe. Yeah, come on. I'm a hoops guy, man. I remember. Yeah. Yeah, that Kawhi shot, right? You can visualize it right now. Okay, so we got Melton. I don't know if this is a good play or not. We could pair Holiday. I don't think we want to do that. Here, we got Simmons. Let's do the Simmons. We talked up how he does the stocks thing. Well, we'll get him on the bring back off of Halliburton. One of the highest total games on the slate. Probably the least sexy name to be drafting from that contest. He's had back-to-back really nice games. Man, Hoops Guy dropped it today. I know you guys were expecting more of a dumpster fire than that. Like, that was, like, pretty good. Yeah, James bringing it up. There you go. Eastern Conference Finals, Bucks were up 2-0. Raptors came back to win it. That's exactly what it was. And then the Raptors had home court in Game 6 or Game 7 when they clinched it, and that was the game that my buddies were at. I didn't make the cut for that bachelor party. Yeah, the invite's still in the mail, huh? Tough scene for old John boy. Anyways, appreciate everyone being here. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy long weekend. Go do some online shopping for Black Friday utilizing promo code Badge Bros. Support the show. Grab a couple T-shirts. Thank you all for hanging out. Boys, we'll be back Monday. We'll do a way too early preview of the main slate, I imagine. Maybe a little hoops, and I'm dead ass serious. Tucker knows it's park time. I'm dead ass serious about trying to get some good guests back on the show. This was a weird week here, so we'll get some more guests on the show going forward, and we will have written content next week on Underdog. And for whatever reason you are not playing on Underdog, there's a $100 $100 match deposit available through the link in the bio, promo code Badge. I'm learning all the streamer shit. Like, subscribe, hang out in the Discord. Best of luck to everybody this weekend. Badge Brigade, somebody's going to take that down. Everybody's favorite time of the show, the end. Peace. Enjoy.